Our text is from Mark's Gospel, Mark chapter 15, verses 22 through 23. Read, "And they brought him to the place called Golgotha, which means place of the skull. And they offered him wine mixed with myrrh, but he did not take it." This is the word of the Lord. When I was a kid, I would have the most epic wrestling matches with my Uncle Dave. Seriously, The Rock would be jealous. It should be pointed out that my uncle was a grown adult and I was just a kid. But like any good uncle, he led me to believe that I actually had a shot of winning before he would inevitably tie me up like a little pretzel with my legs, I think behind my head, if I remember correctly, and my arms wrapped around my body multiple times. I would beg him, I would plead with him to be merciful. I would shout his name, to which he would reply, "Say uncle, say uncle." Finally, I would give in. Uncle, saying uncle was my one shot at making the pain and discomfort subside. It was my out. Oftentimes, when we experience pain in life, we look for a way out. Mark chapter 15, verse 23 says, "They offered Jesus wine mixed with myrrh, but he did not take it." It may sound strange to offer a dying man a drink, but that's what they offered Jesus that day. Believe it or not, that little concoction, that wine mixed with myrrh, or some translations say wine mixed with gall, was a way to dull the suffering. Oh, it wouldn't take it away completely, but in some ways it would dull the pain. Author and theologian William Lane writes, "According to an old tradition, respected women of Jerusalem provided a narcotic drink to those condemned to death in order to decrease their sensitivity to the excruciating pain. When Jesus arrived at Golgotha, he was offered wine mixed with myrrh, but he refused it, choosing to endure with full consciousness the suffering appointed for him." As Jesus suffered, he was offered a drink. When given the opportunity to lessen the pain or dull the pain, Jesus refused. In doing so, Jesus chose to endure with full consciousness the suffering appointed for him. His pain must have been unbearable. I mean, if we're being honest, we have no category for such suffering. 700 years before that event even took place, the prophet Isaiah tells us that Jesus would be beaten so badly that his appearance was so marred beyond human semblance and his form beyond that of the children of mankind. He was beaten beyond recognition. Jesus was bruised, he was beaten, he was crushed, he was stripped, and he was whipped. The King of Kings wore a crown of thorns. His hands were stretched out, and nails pierced his hands and feet as he was pinned to the cross. I can't even begin to imagine the pain that he felt that day. So much of life is lived to avoid pain, or to dull pain, or to dampen the pain, or to be delivered from the pain. But when given the opportunity to lessen the pain, Jesus chose to experience the pain fully. Thankfully, the pain that Jesus experienced that day wasn't pointless. Scripture tells us in 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 18, "For Christ also suffered once for sins, the righteous for the unrighteous, to bring you to God. He was put to death in the body, but made alive in the spirit." We're taught in Scripture that Jesus lived the life that we could never live, and he died the death that we deserve. He was buried, and he rose again 3 days later, offering life to those who trust in him. As you enter this next workout, be thinking about the price that was paid, the pain that was embraced, and the purpose behind the suffering of Christ.